Be nice if you could get double hours if you had two devices running simultaneously, Andrew. That'd be a good way to get your hours in.
Yeah, I just turned off my phone since my computer just started working.
Mr. Thompson said that like if we came early, like we just had to be here for 2 hours, then we could leave because we have basketball right at 2. Is that okay?
I'll have you out at 2.
Okay.
Yeah. What time do you have to take off?
I think I came at 11:40, so I'm probably gonna try to go like at 1:40 because we start right at 2, and I like want to be able to get my shoes on and stretch and stuff.
Yeah. Bianca, do you know if Carmelo is going to join us today?
He has football, but he's
Okay.
back here. But
I'm sorry?
he's back here. He'll be here for like 30 minutes, I think.
Okay. Well, we can't really count that, but
Okay.
hi, Gracie, how are you?
Good.
Good. You're Gracie Thompson, right?
Yeah.
And where are you at in the course? How many hours of classroom instruction do you have at this point?
I started around like a little before the 7th.
Okay. Okay. So you're into your second week of classes?
Yeah.
You're probably pretty close to where we are in the textbook. All right, let's get started. We've got a couple more people to join us, but I have a suspicion that on a day of a state championship, we might lose some people from this class. So this is who I have. When I call your name, please say here, just so that I have a record of it. Let's see here. Hannah, I have.
Yeah.
Okay. Gabby just joined us. Andrew, I saw you. Josh Green.
Yeah.
Great. Lily, I saw you. Good. I did not see Isabel. Jennifer Knoll.
Here.
Okay. Bianca, we
Here.
here, so you're still here. Good. Reese
Here.
and Emma,
Here.
Amy, there's Amy.
Here.
There you are. Great. Lillian,
Here.
Brian,
Here.
Veronica.
Here.
Who's sitting with Hannah?
Sophie.
Sophie. Great. Thank you. All right. So Mr. Thompson wasn't able to be here today, so I'll be filling in for him. And we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday at the end of class. So let me share my screen with you. Let's see if I can do both. Can I do both? Control to select multiple windows. We'll just do that. All right. So one of the aspects that we're going to be starting with today is the expressway, driving on the expressway. And I'm going to minimize this a little bit so that it isn't blocking our view on the screen. And I'm going to maximize this over here so we have that record. Have any of you at this point been able to get out on the expressway for yet? Have any of you had that chance? Has anybody made it to the expressway? Give me a thumbs up if you have. Nobody yet? Okay. So we hope by the time we get to your fourth, fifth, or sixth drive to get you out onto the expressway. It isn't an absolute requirement, but it is definitely an experience that I would like you to have when you're out on the expressway. I'd like you to have the chance to experience driving on the expressway. Driving on the expressway has some unique characteristics to it because the first time you drive on the expressway, it's a very exciting experience because you get to go really fast. This is one of the times where we're going to ask you to aggressively accelerate. We haven't asked you to aggressively accelerate yet, probably not a lot anyway, but when we're on the expressway, that is definitely a time where we're going to need you to accelerate at a fairly fast rate of speed so that you can keep up with the flow of traffic. So the typical speed limit on an expressway in the state of Michigan is 70 miles an hour. We do have some expressways in the state of Michigan that have 75 miles per hour as the speed limit. But for the most part, what we're seeing is speed limits of 70 miles an hour. And the first time that you drive 70 miles an hour, it feels really fast. It feels like things are happening way too fast on the expressway, and it'll feel like it's really hard to keep track of everything that you need to be tracking with when you're driving down the road. But then you start to realize something on the expressway. One of the things that you realize on the expressway is that everybody is going in the same direction, and you're not being asked to stop as much as maybe you did on other roads. You don't have to stop at intersections. You don't have to deal with cars turning into and off of the road as much. You're not having to slow down. You keep a consistent speed. And all of a sudden, that 70 miles an hour that you're going out on the expressway starts to become a little bit more normal. And here's to me, the dangerous part of driving on the expressway. Driving 70 miles an hour isn't dangerous. You're going to get used to that really quickly. In fact, you'll be surprised how fast you get used to driving at 70 miles an hour. What's dangerous to me about the expressway is that you can get lulled into a false sense of security with the expressway. you're traveling at a rapid rate of speed. But because everybody else is traveling at the same rate of speed, you can start to feel like this isn't as fast as it actually is. And so if you look at crash statistics for the expressway, you'll see that they actually are remarkably safe. There aren't, you're not seeing as many collisions on expressways when you compare the overall crash statistics. In fact, they're very, very safe. But when an accident happens on the expressway, when there is an accident that takes place, it is often a very bad situation because you're traveling at such a high rate of speed. So you have to be careful. Now, probably the most difficult thing on an expressway is merging onto the expressway, coming onto the expressway. Once you're onto the expressway, it's really not that hard to drive on the expressway because you have really wide lanes, everybody's going in the same direction, and it's fairly straightforward. So I want to start today by watching this video clip on sharing the road with other vehicles on the expressway. So let's start with this.
Your triple.
1 second. There we go. Can you all see the video now? Can somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see the video? Great, here we go.
AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety welcomes you to Freeway Driving. We're going to explore the safest ways to maneuver on today's freeway. We'll cover questions like, what's the best way to merge onto a fast-moving, multi-lane highway? How should you handle the mysterious weave lane? And how do you know when you've finally reached your exit? All this and more in Freeway Driving.
Welcome to Driving Safety. I'm Patrice King Brown.
I'm John Burnett, and we're here today to talk about driving safely on superhighways.
Freeways.
Fast, multi-lane, limited access roads.
Today's and tomorrow's. The highways of tomorrow are already being planned by federal and state departments of transportation. Smart highways of the future may control the speed of our cars and provide drivers with traffic data through in-car information systems.
It's a project that won't depend on building new roads, but will simply make our present highway system work much more effectively through the use of technology.
Even though the highways of tomorrow will be a significant advance, let's not underestimate the value of our current freeway system. Today's interstate highways are marvels of sophisticated engineering. They're designed for faster traffic, and they're safer than other highways because traffic travels on them in the same direction and at roughly the same speed. But safe as they are, they demand special skills at critical decision points.
Let's take a look now at a typical trip on a freeway and see some of these special skills in action. Before entering a freeway, you should be sure that you know what entrance and exit you're going to use. Safety requires advanced planning.
What's the best way to merge onto a fast-moving multi-lane freeway?
Entering today's freeways, Patrice, can be safe and efficient if a driver follows a few important procedures. A driver should take care to enter the freeway smoothly and decisively. Accelerate to freeway speed in the acceleration lane with your turn signal on and identify a gap to merge into. Watch the gap in your rear view and side view mirrors and use head checks to watch your vehicle's blind spot. After a final head check, merge into traffic and turn off the directional signal.
It's important not to hesitate on the ramp or acceleration lane and not to merge at too slow a speed. In some situations, there will be traffic signals to tell you when to enter the freeway at entrance points.
How should you handle the mysterious weave lane?
Well, some freeway entrances are served by a special type of access lane, which also serves as an exit. That's a weave lane. In a weave lane, the entering motorist should yield to cars using the lane for exiting. The exiting vehicle should choose an appropriate gap and merge, while the entering car accelerates and merges with through traffic. The weave lane calls for quick decisions and a spirit of cooperation.
After entering a freeway, the question of which lane to travel in arises. The right-hand lane is the slow lane and is normally used to serve entrances and exits. When traveling in the right lane, keep alert for cars entering the highway. Allow them to accelerate and decelerate and drive in such a way as to create gaps for merging vehicles.
The middle lane of a freeway is typically used for through traffic.
It is important to note that they can actually have a entrance lane on an expressway. They can have it in the left lane, but you would be merging into the fast lane on the expressway. So they're pretty rare, but they can actually have you merge onto the left side of an expressway occasionally. So something to watch for.
And the farthest left lane is for passing and higher speed traffic.
When driving on a freeway, check rear view and side view mirrors frequently. That way you'll always know where the cars around you are and which lanes you can move into should the need arise. When changing lanes, however, even if you think you know where neighboring vehicles are, be sure to signal your intentions and make a head check of your vehicle's blind spot before moving.
One reason to change lanes is to maintain the space margin around your vehicle. Good way to determine how much space you need is to imagine 3 zones of space in front of your vehicle. The first zone extends from the front bumper of your car to a point you will reach in 2 seconds. This is called the following distance.
The second zone extends 4 seconds beyond that, and it's called the stopping zone, because 4 seconds is the shortest time in which you can stop your car when traveling at freeway speeds.
The third zone.
So that is actually a really important point. One thing that can become a little bit distracting on an expressway, or perhaps you can see it in the wrong way, is recognizing your stopping distance when you're traveling at freeway speeds. So they're recommending 4 seconds for a stopping zone. If you're traveling at 70 miles per hour, you need all 4 of those seconds to bring a car to a stop. And it can actually, when you're on the expressway, you can start to actually forget that you're traveling as fast as you are. So it is something that you need to pay careful attention to. Hey, Lillian, can you turn your screen down just a little bit? I need to be able to see, or you need to just sit up in front of your screen. I can't just see the top of your head, okay? All right, let's keep.
Extends 4 seconds beyond that, and it's called the stopping zone, because 4 seconds is the shortest time in which you can stop your car when traveling at freeway speeds.
The third zone extends 20 to 30 seconds in front of your vehicle, and it's called the visual lead distance. 20 to 30 seconds is the minimum sight distance you should allow in front of your car when traveling at freeway speeds.
The nice thing about expressways is that they're often straight roads, and you have tremendous visibility on an expressway, much better than you do when you're on city streets or even country roads. The curves are usually wide banking curves. You can see a long ways ahead of you, but you need to keep your eyes up. You need to keep your eyes moving as far down the road as you can, because if there's an accident that takes place in front of you, you're approaching it at 70 miles an hour, which means you're approaching it much faster. So because you're traveling faster, you need to be looking farther down the road. And that's one of the reasons why they let you go so fast on expressways, is because you do have such good visibility on the roads.
There should be similar distances between your vehicle and the following traffic too, and a gap to your.
So this gap right here between the red car and the off-white car right here, that is not 2 seconds right there. That is way too close between these cars. And it's definitely not a stopping distance, appropriate stopping distance. So this is way too bunched up for an expressway. And as you can see that they're kind of in they're getting closer to a big city. There's lots of lanes of traffic across here. You've got at least 4 lanes, looks like maybe even 5 or 6 lanes of traffic. So they're probably coming up to a big city. And the traffic will start to bunch up like this. And you need to be careful that you keep your following distance. Just because everybody is riding right on somebody else's bumper isn't a good reason for us to do it. Got to keep your following distance, even when you're on expressways, especially when you're on expressways and traveling at high rates of speed.
Right or left, just in case you have to change lanes quickly to avoid trouble. If you're being tailgated, move over or speed up.
If you should have to stop quickly on a freeway, you have to act fast. Tap your brakes lightly first to flash your brake lights and warn following motorists. Then stop as quickly and as smoothly as possible.
Today's freeways are designed to give you all the information you need to make the quick decisions necessary for freeway driving.
For example, occasionally one major freeway will separate from another at a junction not related to another exit. A driver must know which route he or she wants to follow and be prepared to move right or left to continue onto the chosen destination.
These branchings are usually marked well in advance by diagram signs which show how the ramps are laid out. The main purpose of these signs is to prepare drivers for
So one thing that you want to pay attention to with expressway signs out on the road, you notice how it says exit 21 and it's on the left-hand side of the sign? That's an indication to you that the exit ramp is going to be on the left-hand side. If they put this exit 21 over on the right-hand side of the sign, that would be an indication to you that the sign is the exit ramp is going to be over on the right. So that's actually a visual clue for you that they build into the signage to let you know which way you're going to be exiting. So watch for those.
the lane changes they must make to find their chosen route. Now, Patrice, how do you know when you've finally reached your exit?
Well, John, the driver will know that he or she is approaching the intended exit by observing a series of advanced guide signs that follow a uniform progression. The first sign will typically show the name of an exit 2 or 3 miles in advance. There'll be another sign about a mile before the exit, and another 1/2 mile before the exit.
The exit itself will be marked with its name and an arrow indicating.
So that would be ideal, I would say. I would say that that many advanced signs leading up to a exit would be ideal. That is not always the case. Sometimes this is all you have. Sometimes you just get the sign right at the exit. So you have to keep an eye out for that.
Indicating the position of the off-ramp. Upon observing the advanced guide signs identifying the intended exit, a driver should begin to maneuver the vehicle into the lane serving the exit. Most frequently, this will be the right lane, although occasionally there will be a left lane exit. Since exiting from a lane carrying faster traffic is more difficult, left-leading exits are clearly marked far in advance.
Quick thinking is also necessary where a cross street is served by 2 closely spaced exits, one going north and one going south, for instance. Here again, the advanced guide signs give you all the information you need to know what to do. When you reach your exit, check your rear view and side view mirror. Signal your intention to exit. Double check the traffic around you and don't forget that head check of your vehicle's blind spot. Merge into the deceleration lane as early as possible and use the deceleration lane to slow to ramp speed before entering the ramp itself. Take care, ramps frequently include tight curves.
If you should miss your exit, go on to the next one.
Never back up on a freeway.
Let's take another look at a typical freeway trip. A careful driver knows the exits and interchanges before he or she starts out.
In entering a freeway, choose a gap and enter the flow of traffic without hesitation.
Change lanes and pass smoothly, keeping your eyes on the traffic around you and behind you at all times.
Maintain a space cushion around your car. Maneuver your vehicle so as to leave a space option in case of emergency.
Use freeway signs to anticipate interchanges and exits.
Signal your intention to exit and exit the freeway smoothly, using the deceleration lane to slow down to ramp speed before you enter the ramp. When you want to get from one place to another, freeways like the ones we've seen here are the best roads you can choose.
That's right, and the skills and habits that you've seen presented here are your best bet for a safe and pleasant trip. Thanks for joining us, everybody.
So it was actually President Dwight D. Eisenhower who was responsible for introducing the interstate expressway system to the United States. And this Dwight D. Eisenhower was president from 1952 to 1960, which was right after World War II. And Eisenhower was actually really interested in making sure that the United States was prepared for an attack, a military attack. He wanted to be able to mobilize the military very quickly. And that was one of the big justifications for the development of the expressway system that we have today. He wanted to be able to move troops very quickly across the country. Nowadays, that isn't really the main purpose of the expressways. We use the expressways as a means by which Americans can get across the country very quickly, very efficiently. And we actually have types of expressways that are run by the federal government that cross through states. And then we have some expressways that are run just by states themselves and just exist within the state. So as you're looking at expressways, one thing that you can do to kind of help yourself know where an expressway goes is by just looking at the number on the sign. So does anybody know where I-75 goes? Has anybody ever been on I-75 before, that expressway? Anybody ever been on that one? Raise your hand if you've been on I-75. So Ryan, where were you going when you were on I-75?
I don't really remember. I just know I've been on it.
Okay, all right. Andrew, where did you go?
Detroit.
You were around Detroit, okay. And did you go from like southern Michigan, southeast Michigan up to Detroit on 75? Is that you were headed to Detroit?
It was kind of near like Dearborn, I think.
Dearborn? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of near there, or like Lincoln Park or something. I don't know.
Lincoln Park, yeah, yeah. So has anybody else been on I-75 before? Maybe on a drive to Florida? Have any of you ever driven to Florida before? So, okay, Josh, and maybe you don't remember what roads you drove on when you were going to Florida, but you could actually take I-75 from Michigan all the way to Florida. And notice that I-75 is an odd number. If it is an odd numbered expressway, that means it runs north-south. So if you look at an even numbered expressway like I-94, that would go from Detroit to Chicago. So that would travel actually east-west. So even numbered expressways run east-west across the country. Odd numbered expressways run north and south across the country. That is not on the test, but you should ask your parents if they know that one. Ask them why I-75 is an odd number and see if they can figure it out. I bet they can, because as soon as you say it's an odd number, they're going to know where I-75 goes. But all right, so one of the benefits of an expressway is that so many cars can travel on it at the same time. So it's definitely a great opportunity for moving a lot of vehicles very, very quickly. And like I mentioned, they're safer. You're not having as many accidents or collisions. But I will say that when there is an accident that takes place on the expressway, it usually tends to be really bad. So you want to avoid the accidents on expressways. You usually see, around the time we get the first snowfall in an area, you'll see drivers out on the expressway crashing into each other. And it's really hard to avoid those multiple car pileups on the expressway because everybody's driving so fast. Typically, traffic is also divided. So the traffic that's moving in one direction is divided from the traffic that's moving in the other direction by a center divider. It's usually grass. It's not always. Sometimes there's a cement barrier in between, but usually it's grass between the two areas of travel on the expressway. They are going to make sure that there's a lot of safety systems built into the expressway. So they have rumble strips. My youngest daughter, who's 6 right now, her name is Rose. She likes it when we drive past the rumble strips. If I have to drive over the rumble strips, she always thinks that the car is farting, and she thinks that's really funny. And so that always makes her laugh whenever we drive over the rumble strips. So why do we have rumble strips on the road? We say here they are engineered abrasions to alert the driver who might drift off the roadway. Remember, I told you that driving on the expressway, you can actually get lulled into a false sense of security. There's one other thing you need to keep in mind with an expressway, and that is they get kind of boring. It gets a little boring because everybody's going in the same direction. Nothing is really changing around you. Sometimes you can, if you go out west and you drive on an expressway through Nevada or Arizona, you're driving through the desert, oh man, there is just nothing to see for miles around, and it can really lull you into a false sense of security, and you can start to get a little sleepy. And so these rumble strips are there to make sure that you wake up if you start to drift off the road. If you're starting to get sleepy when you're driving the car, stop the car. Don't risk it. It's not worth it. You're going to get into a really bad situation with this. Other things to mention, they do limit who has access to an expressway. So you're not allowed to go out for a jog on the expressway. You're not allowed to walk along the expressway. You have to, if you have a motorcycle, your motorcycle has to have a certain size engine in it. So you can't take a moped out on the expressway. That would be fun, driving as fast as you can on a moped down the expressway, but you can't do it. And they do this because they want to make sure that everybody is able to travel at a reasonably fast speed. They don't put many lane use lights on the expressway. These are a couple of examples of lane use lights that you might see on the expressway. And if you see the red X over the lane, that's going to indicate to you that you should not be driving in this lane. You want to see a green arrow over the lane. That's going to be your best indication that the lane is available for you. The road markings, the lane markings aren't going to be that much different from what we see on other roads. You'll see a solid yellow line on the left edge of the road. That indicates that you can't cross over it. Dotted white line would indicate the edge of a travel lane and that you can pass over those lane lines. If you see a solid white line, usually is indicating the right edge of the roadway. And this little white diamond that you see right here is for high occupancy vehicles. We sometimes refer to these as the HOV lane. I can't remember, has Mr. Thompson said how many people in a car it's required to be a high occupancy vehicle? Hannah, has Mr. Thompson said that yet? Ryan, has Mr. Thompson said that yet?
Sharp said he thought it was 3.
Well, it's actually less than that. A high occupancy vehicle is actually 2 people in the car. Hannah and Sophie, are you there? Because, sorry, okay. So a high occupancy vehicle is any vehicle that has more than 1 person inside of the vehicle. So Hannah, have you ever seen a white diamond on the road like this, or ever seen a sign with a white diamond like this? You haven't? All right, so we don't have many of them around Michigan. You don't see very many HOV lanes. You sometimes see it, the white diamond is actually for reserving the lane. It could be for a high occupancy vehicle. Jenny, can you think of something else that a lane might be reserved for, where they might put this diamond down? What else could we reserve a lane for? Special kind of road users.
I'm not sure.
So can anybody think of another occupant of the road that isn't a car or a truck, and they might need a lane reserved just for them to protect them? Sophie, can you think of something?
Like a semi?
It's possible. I suppose they might have a lane reserved for heavy trucks, but usually they're going to be able to drive in the same kind of lanes that a car would. I'm thinking about something that's not a vehicle at all, not a car at all, but a person would ride on it out in the lane. Andrew, what do you got?
A bike.
Yeah, bicycle lanes could also be reserved with this white diamond. Not on an expressway, because you can't ride a bike on the expressway, but you may see this white diamond in other places besides the expressway. So that could be something that is reserved. If it's out on the expressway, it's typically going to be for a high occupancy vehicle. Interestingly, is anybody in here thinking about riding a motorcycle? You're going to get your motorcycle license at some point. Anybody thinking about getting their motorcycle license? Hannah's thinking about it. No, she's not thinking about it. All right, anybody? Andrew, you're thinking about it? All right, so Andrew, the good deal with the high occupancy vehicle lane, if you see this white diamond on the road and you're in your motorcycle, they consider you a high occupancy vehicle. If you're the single rider on a motorcycle, you don't have to have 2 passengers. You can just ride in the high occupancy vehicle lane. So Why do you think they would have lanes reserved for high occupancy vehicles? Veronica, do you have any idea why they might set up a lane and say, we're only going to let vehicles with 2 or more passengers ride in it? Why do you think they would do that?
I don't know.
All right. Amy, what do you think? Why would they have a lane set up and say only vehicles with 2 or more passengers can ride in it?
I don't know either.
You guys from Lenawee County, you don't have to deal with a lot of traffic. Has anybody ever been in a car in a really big city like Detroit? Well, no, even bigger. Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. Has anybody ever been in a car out in a big city? Andrew, have you been on an expressway in a big city before? What was it like?
It was weird. I don't know. Everybody was jam packed, and there was like
Yes.
hours. I felt like to move.
Yes, you're just sitting. A lot of times when you're in, like, if you're around Los Angeles and you're driving on an expressway around Los Angeles, you just sit. You don't move. And you look around at all the cars that are around you, and there's one person in each car. So the idea is, hey, what if we took like 2 people and put them in the same car and had them move in the same direction? You know, wouldn't that reduce our traffic volume? So the idea of a high occupancy vehicle is to reduce the amount of traffic on the lane so that they're rewarding people who are being more fuel efficient. DJ, make sure that you're staying on camera, all right? You keep drifting off on camera. DJ, you hearing me? We keep losing your signal. You need to stay on camera, okay?
All right. Sorry, my Wi-Fi's bad.
All right, the next thing we need to talk about with expressways are the interchanges. This is probably the most difficult aspect of the expressway system is getting onto and off of the expressway. You've got entrance ramps, which are typically on the right, that give you time to build up speed and merge onto the expressway. Once you're onto the expressway, they usually give you an acceleration or a deceleration lane. These are to give you space to speed up and not have to hold up the flow of traffic. And then exit ramps are spaces for you to merge off of the expressway. Now, this is what they were talking about here with the weave lane. The weave lane is actually designed as an entrance and an exit ramp. So you can see that you've got this yellow car that's trying to exit off of the expressway, and this black car that is also trying to enter the expressway, and they have to share this space right here. So typically what will happen is you let the car that's on the expressway, you'll let them off first. And that car that's yellow is gonna have to keep their speed up a little bit longer than maybe they want to in an exit ramp. And this black car is gonna have to come in behind the yellow car and merge onto the expressway. Notice what this green car is doing. This green car is merging over into the second lane because they know that the black car is getting ready to merge onto the expressway, and they know that's gonna slow them down. So with the weave lane, you have a lot of things to pay attention to. This red car is way out of the danger zone. They're not anywhere near the weave lane, so they don't really need to be concerned about it. They can just keep going with their speed. The green car is going to come over into this left lane, advisedly to move over into this left lane so that the black car can come into this lane and speed up. The trouble with the weave lane is that you have to speed up faster and you have to slow down faster. And it's not as convenient as people would prefer all the time. We do have some of these weave lanes around Ann Arbor, pretty close to us. And so when you go out on the expressway, we may be able to take you onto a weave lane. There are some that are near us so that you can have the opportunity to do that. All right, with this activity, you're gonna get a word. You're gonna have to unscramble it and write that word in right here, and then find the definition over on the right-hand side and draw a line from this word down to the word, the phrase that describes it. I believe you've done one of these already. check your answers. So for word scramble number 1, let's see here. Let's go to Reese. What did you get for word scramble number 1?
Weave lane.
Weave lane. And what is the definition of the weave lane?
Entrance and exit ramps which share a common lane.
Very good. Entrance and exit ramps that share a common lane. DJ, word scramble number 2. What did you get for this one?
Center divider.
And what is the center divider?
I don't know. I don't have my book. I'm not home.
All right, it divides the flow of traffic. Number 3, Bianca, let's go to you. What is number 3?
I didn't get the full thing. I only got like half of I got signals and that's it.
Okay. Amy, can you help her out? What did you get for the first word that goes along with signals?
I was only able to get half of it.
All right, I will help you guys out. That one is traffic signals. Traffic signals. And traffic signals are rarely used, but identify lane usage on the expressway. So number 4, Sophie, let's go to you. What did you get for number 4?
Exit ramp.
Exit ramp.
But
What's
I'm
the
not
exit
at
ramp?
home, so I don't have my book.
Exit ramp allows vehicles to leave the expressway. Number 5, Hannah.
White something.
That's true. It is white something. It refers to reserved lanes. Do you remember? Does that help you?
Diamond.
White diamond. Very good. So it refers to a lane that's reserved on the expressway. It's going to be lanes that are reserved for high occupancy vehicles. Question 6, Nathan. Let's go to you.
I don't have this one.
Well, look at it. What do you see here? It refers to a lane marking. Last word is a color. Solid yellow.
Yeah.
What does a solid yellow mean?
It's like the line that makes it so you can't pass.
Yeah, it's on the right edge of the road. Okay, Reese, let's go to you. Number 7.
I didn't get number 7.
Okay, it has to deal with, I'll give you the first word. The first word is turning. Turning bays. They protected lanes for vehicles preparing to turn. Gabby, let's go to you. Question number 8.
I didn't get the first word, but the second word is white.
Yes, the first word is dotted. What would a dotted white line indicate to you on the expressway?
It allows you to turn or change lanes.
You got it. Gracie, let's go to you. Number 9.
I didn't get number 9.
Okay, I'll tell you the last word. It'll probably help. The last word is ramp. There's only 2 types of ramps on the expressway. It is an entrance ramp. And what's the purpose of an entrance ramp? It allows vehicles to enter the expressway. Question number 10, Lillian. What'd you get for this one, Lillian?
Rumble strips.
Rumble strips. What do rumble strips do?
I don't know.
Remember, my 6-year-old thinks they make the car fart. Why would that be a good thing?
Because it tells you when you're going off the road.
Exactly, yeah, it makes a loud noise. So it alerts the driver that they're leaving the roadway. Okay, so driving on the expressway, when you're driving on the expressway, you have to be aware that you are watching out for other traffic, watching your speed and placement on the expressway. So that's probably the most important thing when you're entering the expressway, when you're merging with existing traffic. And you need to make sure that you're maintaining proper following distance when you're driving on the ramp. Make sure that you're not driving right on somebody's bumper, and you are driving at or near the speed of the existing traffic on the expressway. It doesn't give us permission to break the speed limit, but it is something that you need to make sure that you are traveling at a safe speed. You're not traveling at too slow of a speed. There's actually minimum speeds that are often listed on the expressway that you're not allowed to travel sometimes below 45 miles per hour on the expressway because it's not safe. So when you're entering the expressway, you're matching the speed of other traffic, you're checking your mirrors and blind spots, and you're not ever stopping at the end of a ramp. That is very dangerous to do.
We have to show our faces, like, all the time. That's what I'm doing.
Start with the merge. We begin looking early, so we'll have plenty of time to find an adequate gap and room to accelerate after we find one. Any gap should be large enough to give us at least 2 seconds in front and 2 seconds behind. We can't count on drivers to let us into a gap that isn't large enough.
If we have to pause, we do it early, so we have the length of the acceleration lane to build up to the speed of traffic. It's important to make absolutely sure of a gap before committing to it. Aborting can be dangerous.
When we merge onto a highway, we need to turn around in order to see the highway. What makes it particularly difficult is that we're moving, and we have to look ahead at the same time.
Quick glances behind will let us see traffic on the road and find a gap to merge into. Ah, behind that gray car.
Now, because of the way we've adjusted the mirrors, we can generally see the cars on the highway in the left mirror.
Ah, there's the gray car. Just a few more seconds. It's past us. Now we can merge. But first, one more look behind just to make sure.
Sometimes a car will speed up and close the gap, or pull into it from the far lane. But not this time. Again, we need to make it quick. The most difficult merge is when cars are in front of us. Here we need to share our attention between the cars ahead and those on the main road.
Also understand that when you're driving onto the expressway, when you're getting ready to merge onto the expressway, it is your job to merge with other traffic. So they do not have to technically merge with you. They should give you space, but you have to merge with them. They have the right of way if they're already on the expressway. So
most of the merging accidents are collisions with the car ahead that is stopped. By keeping looks behind very short, we're able to see what's happening ahead. If we wait until no one is in front of us, we are free to concentrate on the merge.
Most freeways have long merge lanes that let us keep going while we look for a gap. But some merge lanes are short, and we have to stop and wait for a chance. Here, we need to wait until the cars ahead have merged and the way is clear.
If we were to be looking behind, we wouldn't see that the car ahead has stopped.
This is one of the big contributors to merge crashes. We can't assume the way is clear unless we see that it is clear. Even then, we don't start forward without looking first. Any change in position on the road, whether to change lanes or to merge, requires the use of our mirrors and quick looks behind. What's the best move here? Ordinarily, we might do that driver a favor by moving to the left lane.
But remember, as we approached, we were watching the mirrors and saw that car passing us. So the only alternative is to slow down while the car enters.
What do we do next?
We expect that a passing car may pull into the deceleration lane and block our path.
So this is an example of a weave lane right here. You've got a car pulling into the lane right in front of us, and we're trying to merge onto the expressway. So that green car is going to merge onto the expressway, or merge off of the expressway while we're trying to merge onto the expressway. That's the danger of a weave lane right here, is that you don't have much space for your car to get onto the expressway and for them to get off. You have to share that space. So when you're driving on the expressway, we use the same basic rules that we have always used out on the roadway. Driving on the expressway doesn't really change a whole lot for us. As we're operating the vehicle, keep good following distance. We want at least 4 seconds of following distance. You may have to increase that if the weather is bad, and if it's in a situation where you're not able to bring the vehicle to a safe stop, you'd want to increase that to 6 seconds. You want to keep up with the flow of traffic as much as possible, and not that you should feel any compulsion to break the speed limit, but you want to keep up with the flow of traffic as best as possible. Stay out of the left lane unless you're passing another vehicle, so you should be hanging out in the right lane whenever possible. Although there are going to be some times where you have multiple lane situations and expressways with 3 or 4 lanes going in the same direction. In that situation, you could be in the center lane. That would be fine. I mentioned earlier that expressways have really good lead time on visibility, and so that's a good option for you with your visibility is to look far down the road, 20 to 30 seconds ahead. Expect that there will be vehicles merging. Expect that vehicles are going to be moving onto the expressway. You do not have to move over for a vehicle that is entering the expressway, but it is a good idea to do that. And it will allow you to keep moving at the same rate of speed. You won't have to slow down for them. Don't drive between 2 large trucks because you're actually going to get quite a bit of wind resistance between them. They also may not be able to see you. And so they might actually, one of them might attempt to lane change into your lane and you'll have no place to go. If you are going to pass by a truck, always pass on the left. That's the rule basically for anybody. You shouldn't be passing people on the right, and only make 1 lane change at a time. I see some people making really risky moves sometimes on the expressway, making multiple lane changes. The difficulty with that is you may get into a situation where you can't see all the way across the road, and making multiple lane changes, you could be making a lane change into another vehicle. The expressway is set up to make sure that it is safe as possible. If you see a disabled vehicle on the expressway, make sure that you give them lots of room and move over a lane as you can. When you come into a work zone, they're typically going to slow you down inside of a work zone to 60 miles an hour, or if there are workers present, they may slow you down to 45. Understand that it is not acceptable in any state to be speeding through a work zone. They're going to take that very seriously. If you get a speeding ticket inside of a work zone, they're going to treat that very, very seriously. In Michigan, they are going to double the ticket for you. So it'll be a very expensive ticket for you if you do get into a situation where you get a speeding ticket inside of a work zone, because you know if you're in a work zone, if you see orange barrels, you know you're in a work zone. You see the signs, there's no excuse for it. It can be frustrating driving through a work zone because they may slow you down more than you want, but you're also driving by people that are going to be really close to you, so you want to make sure that you're being careful. Typically, if you're driving on a road that has toll booths, they're going to ask you to stop and get a ticket or pay some money to continue driving down the road. They're going to ask you to check your brakes about 2 miles in advance. Look for the most available lane. You may have, you can purchase for most toll roads today, you can purchase what's called an Easy Pass. It's actually just a little transmitter that you set inside of your car. And then you don't have to stop to pay the toll. You can actually just drive through a toll booth and it will record that you drove through, and it'll automatically process the toll from your credit card, so you don't actually even have to stop. When you're on the expressway and you see an emergency situation, you see police officers on the road, you should be at least 1 lane over from a police officer. Police officers in emergency vehicles do have additional provisions on the expressway, like the emergency crossover lanes. They're usually these gravel roads that connect the northbound and southbound sides of an expressway. Those are not for us. We are not to use those driveways. We're not to use those connection points. It would only be for an emergency situation. And typically it's for police or fire trucks or ambulances to use if you're on that, if you're on an expressway. Have any of you ever been on an expressway before and seen an ambulance come up behind you on the expressway? That's happened to me before when I was on the expressway, and ambulances drive fast, but they don't drive that fast. And so you have to be careful when you're on the expressway that you do pull over to the right, just like you normally do with an ambulance. You should pull over to the right, give them space to get by you. What they're doing is more important than what we're doing. Especially if they're driving down the road with their lights on and sirens flashing, you need to get over to the right. They want to pass you on the left, so make sure you give them space. When you get onto an expressway into a big city, you're going to see that they have larger traffic volume, and they're going to slow you down. They're going to slow you down to about 55, so make sure that you're watching for that as well. The exit ramp, watch for your exit ramps early. Most of you, as you get your driver's license, you're going to have to figure out how to navigate a map and directions. That's one of the aspects of driving that you have to work on. You have access to digital technology inside of the car. Most of you have access to digital technology inside of the car, and it will actually alert you to the exit ramp as it's approaching, and can let you know that your exit ramp is approaching. You want to maintain your speed. Now, the reason why I'm on the expressway, the reason why I am driving on the expressway is because I want to go fast. And so if you're driving in front of me, you're driving in your car and you're getting ready to exit and you're slowing down to 55 miles an hour, you're not allowing me to do what I wanted to do on the expressway, which is go fast. So don't slow down in front of me, because that's going to force me to make a lane change around you. So keep your speed up until you get to the deceleration lane. That's what that lane is for. It's to give you space to slow down, and watch for the posted ramp speeds, because they are going to make you slow down fairly quickly. All right, so I'm going to ask you guys some questions, and we'll talk about these together as a group, rather than do this in smaller groups. Okay, so on short response number 1, I want you to write down 2 reasons why fatigue might be a big factor on the expressway. Give me 2 reasons, just 1 reason. Give me 1 reason why fatigue might be a big factor on the expressway. I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. Why would fatigue be a big factor on the expressway? Ryan, what do you think? Why would fatigue be a big factor on the expressway?
I feel like the expressway a lot of times is used to get into like a big metropolitan area most of the time, and like a lot of people will be coming like home from work or going to work early in the morning or just completed a long day at work, so they'll be using the expressway to get home, that kind of.
Yeah, driving to or from work can be tiring for people. Josh, what do you think? What's another reason why fatigue might be a big factor on the expressway?
I can't really remember what that thing is.
One more time.
I don't know what that is. I forgot. I don't know. Yeah.
Emma, what do you think? Why would the expressway wear people out?
Since you're just going fast for a long time, it gets kind of boring, I guess you would say.
Yeah, I think that's a really big factor in it. You're doing the same thing over and over again. It can start to get a little boring, and you can start to lose track, lose focus, and not pay attention. All right. Let's go, Lillian. I'll give you a couple seconds to think about this one, but I want you guys to write down 3 advantages to the expressway. Lillian, we're going to start with you. So think of one advantage that exists with the expressway.
You can get to your destination quicker.
All right, faster speeds. That is an advantage. Gabby, how about you? What's another advantage of the expressway?
It's kind of like hers, but just like not like stuck in traffic.
Yeah, you don't have the stop and go traffic of big cities. Lily, can you think of an advantage to the expressway?
It's safer.
It is, yes, very good. I'm glad you brought that up. It is one of the safer roads for us to be driving on, and it does allow you to get to locations faster. I would say one other advantage to the expressway is it allows more cars to travel at a faster rate of speed, so it has a greater volume of traffic on it. Let's go to the third response. 3 reasons a driver might avoid driving on the expressway. Nathan, let's start with you. What's a reason why a driver might avoid driving on the expressway?
If there's like a bunch of road work and stuff.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's a reason that I have stayed off of expressways if they're in a construction zone. Yeah, good reason. Hannah, what do you think? What's a reason why somebody might avoid the driving on the expressway?
Maybe they're scared of driving too fast.
Yes, if that is something that is a cause for fear, the expressway is not the place for you. Reese, what do you think? What's another reason that a driver might avoid driving on the expressway?
If there is an accident.
Yes, very good. I'm glad you brought that up. It's kind of like the work zone, that, you know, the heavy traffic that's going to be produced from a work zone or from a traffic accident. Sometimes you'll see on the expressway a traffic jam that's backed up for a couple miles. And you can be sitting in those traffic jams sometimes for an hour or 2 at a time. And it might just be smarter to get off the expressway and to drive in a different direction on a different road. All right. Was there just 3 responses on that? Yeah, there was. Okay, let's keep moving. We're going to talk about sharing the road with other types of vehicles. We often think of the roadway as for cars only, but the roadway is actually designed for a variety of users. It's actually designed for more than just cars and trucks. We share the road with a lot of different types of users of the road. So people that are walking, we refer to those as pedestrians. People that are riding a bike, they're cyclists. You've got motorcycles, you've got emergency vehicles, you've got people driving really big trucks, semis. Sometimes these vehicles require special licenses, but not all the time. And we have to know how to share the road properly with these other users. Not all of them are vehicles. So let's start with one that isn't really related to another vehicle. We'll start with pedestrians. So if you're walking on a road surface, you are a pedestrian at that point. You do have some obligations, expectations on the road. So you can, as a pedestrian, be stopped by a police officer because you are using a roadway. And if you are a pedestrian, you should walk, or if you're out for a run, you should run on the left-hand side of the road. So you should always be walking towards the headlights of the vehicles that are approaching you. So don't ever walk on the side of the road where vehicles are coming up on your left-hand side. They should be coming up on your right-hand side. And if there is a sidewalk present, you should not be on the roadway. You should not be walking on a road. But a lot of situations around Lenawee County where we are, that just isn't an option. There isn't a sidewalk. And if there isn't a sidewalk, then you have a right to walk on the road. You have the ability to do that. Now, some people in their cars are going to act as if you don't. They're going to cut you off, or they're going to drive really closely to you. And there isn't much that you can really do. I would say, do any of you go for a jog on the road? Raise your hand if you like to jog out on the road. Okay, so Josh, have you ever had a situation where somebody's driven too closely to you while you're on a jog?
Yeah.
And what did you do?
I tried my best to move farther to the edge of the grass.
Yeah, that's it, right? Yeah, that's what we can do. It's not like you can really push back against the car. It's not like you can do a whole lot. You have to protect yourself in that situation. So I have a brother-in-law who likes to run marathons. And when he's preparing for a marathon, he's out, on an average night, when he's getting ready for a marathon, he's running 15 miles a night. And I asked him how he handles this. He wears a lot of like reflective clothing. He'll wear, like a headlamp. He'll have flashing lights around him so that people can see him. But he said when he's out on one of those long runs, he will just run into the ditch. If he's not sure if the car is going to stop or give him space, he'll just leave the roadway. He'll go into the ditch. You have to protect yourself. Like it may be illegal what that car is doing to you, Josh, but at the same time, you got to make sure that you're protecting yourself in that situation. Now, there are some things that we could do if we're a pedestrian that is illegal. And a good example of this is jaywalking. It's an illegal crossing of the street. So how many of you have had the chance yet to drive in the driver's ed car in downtown Adrian or downtown Tecumseh? Has anybody had a chance to do that? Okay, has anybody had a chance to do their parallel parking in downtown Adrian or downtown Tecumseh? All right, Lillian, when you were parallel parking, did you see anybody jaywalking?
Yeah.
Yes, it's very common, right? It's very common in downtown situations. You see people crossing illegally the street all the time. They should be crossing at a crosswalk. Okay, they should be crossing at a crosswalk. If there is no crosswalk, they should be crossing at an intersection. You should never cross in the middle of the street. And if you do, if a driver of a car approaches, they have the right of way. As drivers, we don't have permission to just keep going if somebody is illegally crossing the street, though. We don't get to, just bump them off the street, even though it's kind of annoying when they're crossing the street illegally. If there is no crosswalk present, pedestrians still have the right of way. So we have to yield as drivers, we have to yield to pedestrians and make sure that they have a safe access across the road. If there is a pedestrian that's already in the intersection, you have to wait for them. Even if you have a green light, you have to wait for them. Have any of you had a chance to drive through the intersection of 223 and M52? 223 and M52. It's a big stoplight in downtown Adrian. There's a McDonald's on one corner. There's the Carpet Outlet. Have you been through that intersection before? Okay, so probably 5 or 6 years ago now, I was sitting at that intersection and there was, I was on M52 and I saw somebody across the intersection. It was this, it was a runner and he was jogging. I don't know why he was jogging on 223, but he was jogging on 223 and he started to cross through the intersection. And I was watching the cars across from him and they were not paying attention to him at all. I could see the driver's heads. They were not looking at him at all. And my wife was sitting in the car in the front seat right beside me. And I said, oh man, somebody's going to get hit, because these cars were getting ready to make their turn. They did not look for this pedestrian and he was just going across. Now he had the right of way. He had the walk signal to cross through the intersection, but nobody was looking for him. And at the last second, he actually banged on somebody's hood because they started to move and they stopped abruptly and he didn't get hit, but he almost got hit. We don't have a lot of pedestrians trying to cross those intersections at 223 and M52, but just because we don't have a lot of them doesn't mean that we shouldn't be paying attention. You got to watch for those at intersections. The other thing to watch for, if you see a person at an intersection and they have a guide dog or they're giving indication that they're visually impaired, like they have a white cane with them, that would be an indication you have to yield the right of way to them. You have to bring your car to a stop. Let them know that you have stopped your car. You don't honk the horn or anything. You just stop the car. Let them hear your engine running so that they can know that they can pass in front of you. If you've seen on the crosswalks in downtown Adrian, they actually have those bumps on the sidewalk right before you enter the street. Has anybody seen those kind of, they look like just a series of raised bumps on the road. Those are actually there for visually impaired people to know that they're at a crosswalk at this point. Have any of you ever had a chance to go to a city like, I know there's one in Washington, D.C. Has anybody been to Washington, D.C. before? Did you guys go on a trip to Washington, D.C.? So Gracie, when you were in Washington, D.C., did you hear the little walk signals at the big intersections? Like they'll say, crosswalk is open for the next 27 seconds or something. And then it starts a countdown. Did you hear that when you were there?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do that for visually impaired people so that they know that it's safe for them to begin to cross at the intersections. So there are a lot of safety systems in place for our pedestrians on the road. So where are we going to most commonly see pedestrians? You're going to see them around parked vehicles. And so if you see a parked car and you see the brake lights go off, there's a good chance that somebody's going to be getting out of that car. So watch for those. Watch for pedestrians around city centers, entertainment venues. If you're at a shopping center, watch for pedestrians and be mindful of their presence. When it comes to bicycles should actually be on the opposite side of the road from pedestrians, so they ride with the flow of traffic. Bicycles are expected to abide by all of the same laws and regulations that other vehicles on the road have to abide by. So you could get a speeding ticket on a bicycle if you were really pushing it, I suppose. If you can go faster than 25 miles an hour, you could get a speeding ticket, I suppose. Bicycles are allowed to have two bikes right next to each other in the lane. And if you are approaching a person who is on a bicycle, make sure that you maintain at least 3 feet between your car and the bicycle. Make sure that you keep distance between you and the bike to make sure that they're staying safe. I usually try to make it my goal that I'm going to be a whole lane width away from the bicycle, because if you've ever been on a bike and somebody's driven by you at high speed, the amount of wind force that comes along with that car is enough to push you off the road when you're on a bike. So you want to be careful of that. With a motorcycle, motorcycle should be treated as a full-size vehicle. Bicycle does not get the full lane, but a motorcycle does. And a motorcycle is allowed to have 2 motorcycles side by side in the lane. So the tricky thing with a motorcycle is that motorcycles move much faster than other vehicles. They're able to start and stop a lot faster. A motorcycle, is going to weigh maybe 1,000 pounds, where your car probably weighs more like 3,000 pounds. And that means that the motorcycle is going to be able to take off a lot faster. It's going to be able to stop a lot faster. And so you need to make sure you maintain a very safe following distance with the motorcycle. Make sure that you've got plenty of space between you and the motorcycle. If you get into an accident with a motorcycle, it is not a minor situation. There is no such thing as a minor accident with a motorcycle. It's always a serious accident when it comes to a motorcycle. If you are over 21 in the state of Michigan, you don't have to wear a helmet when you're operating a motorcycle. If you're under 21 and you have your motorcycle endorsement, you will still have to wear a helmet in the state of Michigan. You can't just drive a motorcycle with a driver's license. You actually have to pass a test to be able to operate a motorcycle in the state of Michigan. And then they'll add a little endorsement on your driver's license. I don't have my license on me, or I have some endorsements on my driver's license that allow me to operate a school bus. So there's little indicators on the license that give you special privileges with the, and you would have that with the motorcycle. It would have a little endorsement right on the license. So the thing to keep in mind with a motorcycle, the test is probably only 15 minutes. It's not a very long test, but you do move through a very similar process as you do with driver's ed to get that license. All right, let's skip to checking your answers. So question number 1, true or false? Ryan, let's go to you. Question number 1, true or false? At a two-way stop, if 2 cars stop at the same time, the vehicle which is turning has the right of way over the vehicle that's going straight. Is that true or false?
False.
False. Why is it false?
Because isn't it like the one, like it's like the circle or like the thing, that made no sense, but like it's like you go to the right and then.
But this is a two-way stop. This is a two-way stop, so we don't have a person to the right here. You're right saying this is a false statement, but why is it false?
Well, I think Mr. Thompson is kind of saying like if you're turning, like don't risk it, just let the car go straight anyway and then turn because it's safer.
Yeah, the vehicle that's turning typically has to wait for the vehicle that's going straight if they arrived at the same time. So that's why it's a false statement. So if the vehicle that's turning got there first, they have the right of way. All right, question number 2. Andrew, let's go to you. True or false, pedestrians should walk on the left-hand side of the roadway?
True.
That's true.
Facing traffic.
Walk on the left-hand side of the roadway. You should walk towards the headlights. Veronica. Oh, this is actually question 2. Ryan, I think the question that we had in there for you was not actually a real question, but that's okay. All right. So now we are on question 2. Veronica, let's go to you. True or false? Cyclists must ride in a single file line. Is that a true or false statement?
False.
That is correct. How many bikes are they allowed to have right beside each other?
2.
2. Yes, they can have 2 bikes riding next to each other. All right, Josh, let's go to you. Question number 3. A motorcycle must stay to the right of their lane.
False.
False. Why is it false?
Because they can get in the
That's true, but it's actually false. You're right. So don't believe this question. Why is it false?
because they can go in the right lane if they want. I don't really know.
They get access to the whole lane. They get access to the whole lane. So they can drive wherever they want inside of the lane. All right, question number 4. True or false, if a sidewalk is present, Emma, let's go to you for this one. Question number 4, if a sidewalk is present, a pedestrian should stay off the roadway. Is that true or false?
True.
That's a true statement. Yeah, if there is a sidewalk, stay off the road. Lily, let's go to you for question number 5. True or false, all motorcyclists in Michigan must wear a helmet.
False.
It's false. Who has to wear a helmet?
People under 21.
People under 21. Very good. Question 6.
I have a question on like the motorcycle thing. So let's say you ride a motorcycle to a different state, and then in the other state it requires you to have a helmet. If you're from Michigan, you like, came from Michigan, like you went in, like a state that makes you wear a helmet, would you get a ticket? Or like how does that work?
Yes, you would. You can't claim a Michigan law in Ohio because it's Ohio's roads. So that's a good question. If you drive into another state, you must follow those states' laws on it. And you can't just say, well, I'm from Michigan, I don't know those laws. You have to abide by those. So if Ohio doesn't have a helmet law, so we're actually consistent with them. For a while, actually, Michigan did have a helmet law and Ohio didn't. You didn't have to wear a helmet in Ohio. And so if you crossed the border into Michigan, then you had to put your helmet on. All right. Jenny, let's go to you. Question number 6. If a driver encounters a visually impaired person at an intersection, they should stop and wait.
True.
That's a true statement. Yeah, don't run over visually impaired people. Hope you've learned that lesson in driver's ed. Question 7, Lillian, let's go to you. A person on a bicycle does not have to stop at a stop sign. Ooh, this is a tricky one.
False.
False. Why is it false? Why is this statement false?
Because someone could be coming from the other side.
Yeah, the stop sign is there for a reason, right? And bicycles have to abide by all of the same laws that cars abide by. And I see a lot of bicycles not necessarily always following traffic laws, but they are expected to when they're out on the road. Gracie, let's go to you. Question number 8, true or false? Jaywalking is a term describing a person walking on the right-hand side of the street.
False.
False. What is jaywalking?
Like walking when you shouldn't be, like across the road when the cars are there.
Exactly. Yeah. Crossing the street when you should not be crossing the street. All right. Question number 9. Amy, will go to you for this one. True or false? If traffic is heavy, a cyclist is required to pull off the roadway to allow vehicles to pass.
False.
That's false. Yeah, they are not absolutely required to do so. Vehicles have to actually move around the cyclist. And question number 10, Sophie, will go to you for this one. Question 10, true or false, a motorcycle may ride next to another motorcycle in the lane. Is that a true or false statement?
True.
That is a true statement. That is a true statement. Okay, so let's exit out of this. And let's talk about semis. So Mr. Thompson actually has some experience driving a semi. I don't have experience driving a semi. I have experience driving a school bus. So I do have a commercial driver's license, but I believe he has a Class A commercial driver's license, or he used to anyway. I don't know if he still does, but he has driven semi trucks before. I have not ever driven a semi before, but the rules between driving a semi and a school bus are often very similar. The big difference with semis is that they have a trailer, and so their backing up procedure is a little bit different than other large vehicles. The other thing to keep in mind is that large trucks have really big blind spots. So we've got this semi right here, and this red car is way out of the visibility of this semi. This car over here is also not visible to the driver of the semi. This car right here is in a really dangerous spot, should not be here. And this car is also in the blind spot of the semi driver. The basic rule that I use when I'm driving by a semi is that I need to be able to see, like from this car right here, you're in a really good spot, but the driver of this car needs to be able to see the driver of the semi in this mirror. So if you can see the driver in the mirror, then you know you're good. You know that that driver can see you. But you need to always be able to have a line of sight with the driver's mirror and see the driver's eyes. If you're passing by a semi, this black car may be doing the right thing. They're passing by this semi. They want to get through this blind spot zone, though, as quickly as possible to make sure that they get out of the way and get past the semi as quickly as possible. This is a terrible spot to be. You shouldn't be here. And this red car, I don't like this either, because this red car is passing the semi on the right. You'd always want to pass by the semi on the left. That would be the better option. So keep in mind that semis are going to need greater space in front of them for stopping distance. They can't stop very quickly. They just need more space because they're such a heavy vehicle. So their turning is going to be very wide and their stopping distance is going to be very slow. So if you've ever seen a semi make a turn inside of a big city, sometimes you see them actually drive up on the curb. They do this because they're actually making a turn, and they can't make the sharp turn, so they drive right up onto the sidewalk when they're making that turn, when they're pulling in to a new street. The other thing to keep in mind when you're driving by a semi is that this black car right here and this red car are facing quite a bit of wind resistance that's being created by the semi. So actually I said that I didn't mind this black car being here, but I don't like this black car here because it's actually between two trucks. That's a bad spot to be. That black car is going to be facing a lot of wind resistance from both of these semis. That's something that's going to be created by the semis as they're driving down the road. You'll feel actually the wind resistance happening as you drive by, and it'll change as you drive from the front of the truck to the back of the truck on the lane. So give large trucks more space, make sure that you're not blocking the view of the road ahead, and watch the semis very carefully. As you're driving by this semi, so when you drive by this semi right here, you'd want to keep an eye on the wheels. There's going to be a lot of wheels all along here. And if you start to see some of those wheels smoking, usually they're going to have what are called dualies. So they'll have two wheels right by each other, and one of those wheels may go flat. And if they go flat, you're going to start to see a lot of tire parts, the rubber that makes up the wheel or the tire start to come out from underneath the vehicle. It'll get shredded. And those can do a lot of damage to your car. So if you see white smoke coming out from underneath the semi, back off this vehicle as soon as possible and be watching for the debris from the tire to land on the road. Sometimes those can be really large chunks of tire can land on the road and do a lot of damage to your car. So watch for that very carefully. All right, let's go. This is our let's check our answers. All right, Bianca, let's start with you for question number 1. If the light is red, but an officer is waving you through the intersection, you should do what? Which one of those is the completion to that answer or that question?
Proceed, follow the directions of the officer.
Yes, do not tell the officer that the light is red. They actually supersede the authority of the traffic light at that point. So you would want to mark A for that answer. Proceed, follow the directions of the officer. Gabby, let's go to you for question number 2. Yield signs are what shape?
C, triangle.
Triangle shapes. Yes. What color do they have on a yield sign?
Yellow.
Did you say yellow?
Yeah.
Yield signs actually are red and white. They're red and white, but they are a triangle. All right, question number 3. Let's go to DJ. Question number 3. What is the default speed limit on Michigan highways?
55.
55. Question 4. We'll go to Reese for this one. Pentagon-shaped sign with a yellow-green color indicates what?
A school zone.
A school zone. School zones are the only Pentagon-shaped signs, and they're also, I don't know why they started to go to the yellow-green color, but usually for alerting people to school areas, they go to the yellow-green color instead of just yellow. All right, Nathan, let's go to you for question number 5. What does this sign indicate?
C.
Yeah, go ahead and read the whole statement there.
Oh. The roadway is narrowing because of an obstacle.
Yes, the roadway is narrowing because of an obstacle. Nathan, have you ever seen one of these signs out on the road?
Yeah.
Where did you see it? What was the conditions, situation?
There was like a bridge thing they had to go under.
Yeah.
Getting
And so what was the obstacle for in the road in that situation?
You had to wait to go through until the other people went through.
Yeah. So the roadway is narrowing because they're going over a bridge. And you also don't have a shoulder in that situation, right? Because you're driving over a bridge. So the shoulder is part of the road. So they'll put one of these on the road if you're in a situation where you are driving over a bridge. Often you'll see those. Okay, Hannah, let's go to you for question number 6. Recreational signs are what color? Recreational signs.
Are they brown?
Are they brown? Yes, they are. So recreational signs are the ones that we see inside of state parks that let you know that you can go boating in an area or there's a trail marked here. Those are brown signs. Question number 7. Jenny, let's go to you for this one. Incident control signs. What color are they?
I don't know.
This is a tough one. We don't see these very often, so I'll give you that hint. It's the rarest traffic sign that you see. So what color would be the rarest to see?
Pink or orange.
Yeah, it's pink.
Okay.
Pink is an incident control sign. Lets you know it's a special situation. It's not really a construction zone, but they do need to alert you to a special circumstance that's going on. Lillian, question number 8, default speed limit in a construction zone. What should you assume the speed limit is in a construction zone?
45.
45, you got it.
Mr. Madsen.
Gracie, we'll go to you for question number 9.
Hello.
Hi, Josh.
Can we leave to go for basketball?
Let's see here.
There's the send off, so I have to be there for that. Because my sister has cheer and she's taking me.
Okay, well, I heard 140, so you're a little early, but
Be late if she doesn't.
take off. Go ahead and take off. Who's taking off?
Bye.
All right, see you, Mr. Madsen.
All right. Let's keep going. Ryan, you're taking off too?
Yeah, I can wait till 140, or should I just go now?
Go ahead.
All right.
All right, question number 9. We'll go to, let's see here. Lily, we'll go to you for question number 9. What do we call a green light which has been green for a while?
Stale.
Stale, yes, it's a stale. It's not a crusty green light. That's gross. All right, question number 10. Let's go to Emma for this one. When can a driver make a legal left turn at a red light?
Either never or after stopping and verifying that there is no approaching traffic.
It is one of those two. Do you feel safe making a left turn at a red light?
Well, isn't it if the red light is blinking, you can do it, but if it's just a red light that's not blinking, you can't do it?
That's a true statement. I'm going to make it even more specific for you. It is a solid red light.
So never?
Well, it's actually B. It's after stopping and verifying that there is no approaching traffic on a one-way street. That would be the only time. That would be the only time that you can do that. So it's a very rare situation to take place. Usually it's never. Usually it's never. But there is one situation, one instance where you are not able to. Okay. So on this video for driving safely around big trucks, I want you to list 5 ways that drivers show care when responding to large trucks on the roadway. So 5 ways that drivers show care when responding to large trucks on the roadway.
At the Michigan International Speedway. This place is huge. It has a grandstand capacity of 136,000 people. That doesn't include the fans in the infield, the racing teams, or the people that run the place. The track is over 2 miles long, and some of the best racers in the world drive here, including NASCAR and kart teams. But we're not here to race today. We're here to learn how to share the road with big trucks. And believe it or not, this is one of the safest places to teach you. While we're used to thinking of race car drivers as professional drivers, I'd like to introduce you to another kind of professional driver. This is Dave Gulak. Dave is a professional truck driver who's going to be helping us out today by driving our tractor trailer. Now, Dave doesn't drive a truck around a track like this at 200 miles per hour, but he is a trained professional just like the guys who race here. Dave, what does it take to be a professional truck driver?
Well, it takes a lot of training and a lot of experience, Curtis, not to mention a special license. I've been driving for 18 years and logged over 1 million miles without being responsible for a crash. And I have a family at home that thinks that's a pretty special thing. And if there's something I can do out here to help other drivers get home to their families, that's great.
That's a lot of miles, Dave. How does that happen?
Well, you have to be informed, alert, and follow some of the same basic rules as other drivers I'm sharing the road with, making some adjustments for the type of vehicle I'm driving. It's not a car, and people driving around me need to understand the differences.
Well, that's what we're here to learn about today. Now, let's meet our driver education students that are going to be with us while we learn about sharing the road with large trucks. We have Christine, Clarence, and Teresa. Any questions?
Yeah, can we check out the truck?
Sure. Nice ride. Why don't you tell us about it?
Sure. This is a Kenworth W900. It has a Detroit diesel engine which puts out 450 horsepower. It's capable of pulling 80,000 pounds. It weighs 25,000 pounds with the full-size trailer. Up here on the panel, you have all your critical information about how the vehicle's operating. You have your engine speed, your road speed, your axle temperature, your air pressure thrust. And down here, you have your 13-speed shifter, which takes us through all the gears we need to move that kind of weight over different grades. You got your radio and your tape player, your CB radio, oh, and your seat belts. I always buckle up in my truck, in my car, and so do my passengers. Back here, you have your sleeper cab. And out here, you have all the mirrors we need to keep visual contact on all the traffic around us.
That's a lot of mirrors.
That is a lot of mirrors. And truck drivers need them to see what's going on around them. Now let's go outside and learn about blind spots and no zones where truck drivers can't see you. What you're seeing here is a truck in 3 lanes of traffic with cars in front, on both sides, and behind. Now from here, we can see the truck and the cars. From inside the truck, we can see all the cars. Hey Dave, can you see any cars?
I can see 4 cars.
Let's move the cars until Dave can't see them either with his mirrors or in a direct sight line. We'll stop the cars when they first become invisible. Okay, Dave, can you see any cars now?
I don't see any cars.
These cars are in blind spots or no zones. You don't want to stay there when driving around a truck. You want to pass through them quickly. If a truck driver can't see you, bad things can happen. For example, if you're in the blind spot on the driver's side of a truck and he has to make a lane change to let in merging traffic and he can't see you, you could easily get hit. Blind spots and no zones are in front of trucks, on both sides, and behind. They're different for different trucks, but they all have them because of their size. A good rule to remember is that if you can't see a truck's mirrors, the driver can't see you.
Blind spots are areas where truck drivers are unable to see your vehicle. Stay out of these no zones whenever possible and move through them quickly when necessary. If you are unable to see the driver in his mirrors, he's unable to see you.
We're standing here at the entrance to pit row. One of the most dangerous things in racing is getting on and off the track to make pit stops for fuel and tire changes. That's because merging and exiting with traffic around can be difficult. It's really not any different than getting on and off our freeways. You have to deal with tight spaces and changing rates of speed. And just like in racing, the other vehicles may not be able to change what they're doing. Dave, what are some concerns that truckers have when dealing with cars entering and exiting the freeways?
Well, when getting onto the freeway, you got to pick your spot and go. You don't want to get caught next to me at the last second because there may be vehicles on the other side that you can't see and I might not be able to move over. When leaving the freeway, you don't want to pull too closely in front of me and don't slow down abruptly in front of me. Big trucks can't slow down as easily as cars.
Exactly. Let's go out on the track and see what good merging and exiting looks like. From up here in the truck, we can see our merging traffic coming pretty clearly. Our student driver has picked a spot in front of the truck and has matched the flow for a smooth entrance just ahead of us. Now we're in the car behind our truck and we're going to see how to make a proper exit around the truck. Passing the truck, we make sure we travel quickly through the blind spots. When we're safely ahead where the driver can see us, and we can see his headlights and the truck's front tires in the rearview mirror, we use our turn signal and enter the lane ahead of him. And here's the important thing. We maintain our speed until we enter the exit lane. Don't slow down when you're in the lane with the truck.
When merging into moving traffic, pick your spot and go. Move with the flow of the traffic as closely as possible. When exiting, wait to enter the deceleration lane before slowing down. Always pass trucks on the left. Always signal your intention as early as possible.
If you're within a mile of your exit, don't try to pass. Pull in behind the truck and wait until you can safely turn into the exit lane and decelerate. Never try to race a truck to an exit.
Dave, earlier you mentioned that trucks can't slow down as fast as cars. How big a difference is there?
There's quite a bit. It can pose some real problems if we're not given the proper space. Trucks have to deal with basic physics like everything else. For instance, inertia. Objects in motion tend to stay in motion. How long it's going to take a truck to stop is basically going to rely on two things: how fast it's going and how much weight it's carrying. The more weight, the more time needed to slow down that momentum. A truck hauling steel will stop a lot slower than a truck hauling eggs.
How about a little experiment to show the difference between trucks and cars?
Sure.
Dave has got our truck coming around the track at 55 miles per hour. When he reaches the pylons where Clarence is standing, he's going to brake as hard as he can while still maintaining safe control of the vehicle. Earlier, we had Christine do the same thing with her car, and we left it where we can compare stopping distances. Here comes the truck now. Wow, it's a good thing we didn't leave Christine's car in the same lane. Our truck went 40 feet beyond where the car stopped, and the trailer was empty. This represents a best-case scenario for stopping a truck. So how much distance do you need in front of a truck in order to stop safely? Well, that depends. The important thing is to stay alert and be aware of the trucks around you. Always leave yourself an out, and remember, the trucks are looking out too. This chart shows stopping distances for cars at 30, 40, and 55 miles per hour. It includes perception and decision time, reaction time, and actual braking time. For trucks, you can safely add 20 to 30%. I'm standing in the middle of an intersection. But don't worry, it's an intersection we made here at MIS to show you some of the problems we encounter with trucks off the freeway. The first item I'd like to bring your attention to is this big white line. It's here for a reason. You need to stop behind it. If you stop in front of it, trucks and other large vehicles won't be able to complete their turns without hitting you. For example, Teresa is in the left lane waiting for the imaginary light. She's past the white line. We're going to mark where the front of her car is and move her car back behind the white line. Dave is going to make a left-hand turn in the truck. Let's see what happens. Oh no! It's a good thing Teresa moved her car behind the white line, or she'd be doing some explaining to the parents. At a busy intersection, you might not be able to move your car. Then you've got a big mess.
If you are the first vehicle to arrive at an intersection with a traffic signal or stop sign, make sure to stop behind the white stopping line. Trucks need space in front of the line to safely complete turns.
There's another situation at an intersection that we'd like to call your attention to. Have you ever seen a truck parked like this? You know what? He did it on purpose. And here comes Clarence pulling right up behind him. There's room on the right, and he's going to try and pull up alongside him, but we're not going to let him. You know why? Because this truck is trying to make a right-hand turn. Clarence should have known that from the flashing turn indicator and the position of the truck. The important thing is that Clarence stays behind the truck. Let's put some cones up where Clarence wanted to go. Okay, Dave, go ahead and make that right-hand turn. Trucks sometimes need part of the left lane to make wide enough right-hand turns. Otherwise, they may hit the curb or objects close to it. Make sure that object isn't your car. Those cones sure are taking a beating today.
Trucks make wide right turns. When approaching an intersection, check for turn signals. If a truck is indicating a right turn, stay behind it. Don't try to squeeze by on the right.
All the things we've talked about today are important elements to sharing the road with big trucks. They'll all help you be a safer driver and get you home in one piece. And they all have one thing in common. They require that you pay attention. More people under the age of 25 die in car crashes than from any other cause. You're getting ready to do something dangerous. You need to pay attention. Don't let friends or the radio station or a mobile phone take your focus away from what you're doing. Driving. Stay focused. Now let's review some of the things we talked about today.
Remember that trucks need more space to turn than cars. Always remember to stop behind the white lines at intersections to leave room for them. Trucks have blind spots just like cars, only bigger. Travel through them quickly and never stay in them for prolonged periods. Trucks make wide right-hand turns. Check for turn signals when you see trucks at intersections and leave them space. When merging into moving traffic, pick your spot and go, matching the flow of other vehicles. When exiting, wait to enter the deceleration lane before slowing down. If you're within a mile of your exit, don't try to pass. Pull in behind the truck and wait until you can safely turn into the exit lane and decelerate. Trucks need more time to stop and slow down than cars do. Never brake abruptly in front of a truck.
Remember, these rules apply to all kinds of driving. And thanks for taking the time today to learn how to share the road with big trucks. Dave has driven over 1 million miles without a crash. If you keep these ideas in mind, maybe you can do that too. Be safe.
All right, so let's go over some of the things that we saw, drivers showing care, responding to large trucks on the road. Nathan, what was something that you noticed that drivers can do to show care with large trucks on the road?
They can park behind that white line at like stoplights.
Yes, very good point. That white line is there largely because of the turning distance that's needed for large trucks. So that white line is a really good point, Nathan. It's something that a lot of people don't necessarily pay attention to. Bianca, let's go to you. What's something that drivers can do to show care with large trucks on the road?
I don't really know.
Well, give me one thing that a driver can do with large trucks to show care.
They could stay far behind the truck.
Following distance. Yeah, you want good following distance with large trucks. Lily, how about you? What's another thing that drivers can do to have safety with large trucks?
Avoid their blind spots.
Avoid their blind spots. Very good. Yes. Veronica, what's another thing that drivers can do?
Pass them on the right
So we want to avoid passing on the right.
or the left.
Yes, you got it. You got it. Yeah, I knew what you meant. You want to pass them on the left. Andrew, what do you think? What's another way we can respond carefully to large trucks?
Staying behind them when they're making a wide turn.
Yeah, don't pull up close to their right-hand side when they're attempting to make a turn. So allow them to pass when they have their signal on. Stay out of their blind spots. You guys mentioned that. Good following distance. Give them room to turn. Give them room to stop. That's also an aspect of following distance. And signal when they are clear to return to their lane. All right, so let's talk about some of the special vehicle groups. This will be the last thing we talk about today. And the move over law, which we may not be able to get to, but maybe we will. If you are operating an RV or a recreational vehicle, you need to be treating this as if you're operating a semi. Oftentimes, some of these things are just as long as a semi. If that RV has air brakes in it, then you will have to have a special license for it. But there are lots of people that drive RVs that don't have a special license. They haven't been tested. It hasn't been checked to see that they're actually safe to operate the vehicle. And so I always allow a little bit more distance with an RV just because I don't know if this driver has been trained to operate this vehicle. And that vehicle is going to operate in a slightly different way than a car or a truck. You need to give them more space. And they need more space to be able to make turns in them. So be very, very careful. I do have an endorsement on my license. I have a commercial driver's license, which I got probably, 4 years ago now. And I had to go take a road test, and my commercial driver's license allows me to operate a bus. So I can have, I have a little endorsement on my driver's license, which indicates that I am legal to operate a school bus. School buses make really wide right turns. So when you are at an intersection, you'll often see the bus kind of pulling over into the left side of the lane in order to make the turn. You got to give them space to do that. They also need lots more stopping distance. A bus that isn't fully loaded with kids can stop pretty fast. I haven't noticed any inability to stop a bus fairly quickly. But when that bus is full, you know, if I've got 50, 60 kids on the school bus, that adds quite a bit of weight to the vehicle. And I definitely notice a difference in the stopping distance with the bus. So you got to be a little bit more careful. Buses have different rules on the road. So for instance, if I'm operating a school bus and I approach a railroad traffic intersection, railroad crossing, I have to stop the school bus. I'm going to turn the flasher lights on, hazard lights on. I'm going to come to a complete stop. I'm going to open the doors, open the windows, check to make sure that there's no train coming, and then I can proceed across the intersection with the railroad crossing. If you approach a school bus and you see that school bus has its flashing red lights on, you need to treat that as if it's a stop sign. You treat that as if it has the authority and stopping power of a stop sign. So stop no closer than 20 feet. If a bus has its red flashing lights on, it is in the act of actually picking a student up. The student is entering the bus, so you need to be very, very careful in that moment, or exiting the bus. If you see the flashing yellow lights on the top of the bus, you can pass by that bus, but the bus driver is going to turn those yellow lights on immediately before they go to the flashing red lights. So typically, if I'm approaching a traffic stop, I'm going to turn the yellow lights on a few hundred feet before the traffic stop. And then just as I'm coming to the stop, I'll turn the flashing red lights on. So the flashing yellow lights let you know that we are about to stop. We are about to pick up a passenger. So we need to be careful and ready to come to a stop. And if you see those flashing yellow lights and you can safely stop, stop. Bus drivers really appreciate that when other drivers try to make an effort to stop early. There are some instances where you don't have to actually come to a stop. There are some instances where it isn't required that you come to a stop. If there is a physical barrier between you and the bus, meaning there's a cement like barrier in the road, maybe there's a wall, or there's a boulevard. If there's a boulevard and there's a median in between you and the bus, you don't have to stop. But where this starts to get a little bit tricky is I have seen bus stops on M52 over by the movie theater, the MJR movie theater. That's a 5-lane road. And a bus is allowed to do a stop on M52, and all 5 lanes of traffic have to stop because there's no physical barrier between you and the actual bus stop. So you do have to stop if there's no physical barrier. If you're operating a vehicle around a school bus, always practice caution. Every year we have terrible tragedy that happens with children that get hit as they're entering or exiting a bus. You need to be really, really careful. It is very obvious what's happening with a school bus, so approach that with caution. Okay, our next class will be Monday morning at 7:45. I will be in my classroom. You can get there as early as you want. I'm usually there around 7 or so. Get there by no later than 7:40 so that you can be logged into, let's see here. We're not in class on Monday, are we? Because Monday is not a school day. Right, so class on Monday is from 12 to 2, is that right? 12 to 2? Yes, so Monday is 12 to 2 in a remote session for that. And then we will pick up with Renaissance. We'll meet during Renaissance Day in class. Okay, that's it for today. We will see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend.